Well, good afternoon, or evening, or morning, whenever you happen to be watching this video. My name is David Kilpatrick, the Executive Director here at Des Moines Community Playhouse. And for about the next 15 minutes, I want to highlight some of the things that are going to make ushering at the Playhouse a little different for 2022-2023 season. And not different, actually, just rather more closely going back to what we used to do. This is a training session to accommodate those who are unable to attend in person. I'm presuming that by now you have read the handbook online as well as you're now watching this, and then you're going to sign a document that says, I read the handbook and I watched the video, so that you have a bit of a heads up of what to expect when you arrive to the Playhouse. First and foremost, I'm going to say, I apologize when I glance down at my script, but this is slightly informal. Let's start with the most important thing. Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to be an usher or a guest services volunteer at the Playhouse. You are extremely important to the Playhouse. Your commitment to the Playhouse is for anything that's happening. You don't care what the show is. You want to be an usher. You want to serve the Playhouse. You want to serve the community. And for that, we're very, very grateful. The second thing that's also important is I want to acknowledge that you often are the only person our patrons connect with at the Playhouse. You become the face of the Playhouse. And this is because if they call the box office or they go online, they're dealing with computers or voicemails, messages, occasionally a person on the phone, but it's just a person on the phone. It's not an actual person standing in front of them. And of course, they come to see the performers, but the performers are on the stage at a bit of a distance. They're actually standing next to, looking at, talking to. So it's important that we always have a good face and a welcomed disposition, and we treat every person who walks through those doors as important as we ourselves want to be treated. And so again, you are so valuable to the Playhouse's success. And the last thing that's really important is you also hear things and you know things that the rest of us may not know. People are going to talk to you. They're going to tell you things. They're going to tell you good things, and they're going to tell you some things that need to be fixed. And it's very important that we hear about those, because otherwise we just don't know. So if you'd be so kind, if somebody says something to you, just tell the house manager and they'll include it report. And then we get to decide. If more than one person is asking for the same thing, then we want to take action. If it's just one person, sometimes we might decide that person's just not having a good mood that night, and we're going to let it go. But regardless, you please share with the house manager so that the staff can then take action as what we deem necessary and important and valuable. And sometimes the answer is no, but as often as possible, the answer is yes. So let's talk about what are some of the things that are going to be different for this year. One of them is a background check. Once you have completed this form, we will be sending you an email through Inquire Hire. We have to do a background check every 2 years, and our ushers actually haven't been checked in quite some time. So you're going to get a background check. It's Inquire Hire. It's a nationally recognized company that takes care of it. All I give them is your email and your name, and all they give me back is whether you're on a national registry or not. There's no other information, no other personal information, no social security numbers, no birthdays, nothing that is transferred back and forth. It's strictly, they give me a report. I'm the only one that sees the report. Absolutely nobody else in the building even sees the report. All they see is that it's been cleared. It takes just about 5 minutes online, and the process is painless and quick and costs nothing. We take care of everything for that regard. But that is coming back, so do watch for that background check before. Hopefully it'll take place before your first training session, or before your first performance. The next thing is we used to have a policy that people were allowed backstage, and we kind of curbed that a little bit. Well, we've been a bit more forceful. No one is allowed backstage. We really do want to keep our performers safe, both from COVID and other things. So nobody's allowed backstage. If somebody's got flowers, or they've got a gift or a card, they can give it to you, and then you give it to the house manager. The house manager will give it to the stage manager, and the stage manager will give it to the performer. This just keeps a level of safety for everybody, and that's important to us at the Playhouse. Parking. I know some of you like to get here early and say, ooh, look at all these empty parking spots. Parking's at a premium this season. there's a lot of road construction going on around us. And so we're asking our guest services volunteers and our actors, absolutely, please, no parking in the parking lot next to the building. In the Roosevelt Shopping Center, there is parking spots, but we do ask sometimes if you could leave that as well. We are actually recommending people go to Hubbell School. Right behind Hubbell School, there is lots of good parking, and then it's just a mere walk across the street, and there's lights at both sides of the school in order to get to the theater. So that's really convenient, and it frees up our parking spots available to our patrons who actually have tickets. So if you could help us out, we'd be ever so grateful for that. Lastly, we work very hard to try things out, try to make things more efficient. We're always kind of doing a little bit of an experiment. If something's not working, let us know. We do really want to fix that issue if we could. All righty, so let's get on. Just a few more items is what's sort of new for 22-23 season. The first is, of course, dress code. I'm modeling our dress code. White shirt, dark pants, and a name badge. Of course, you'll get a name badge when you arrive to the Playhouse. The ushers will print them out in advance and have it ready for you. We ask you to please wear the white shirt and the black pants. We're going to go back to a little bit of a firmer dress code. We got some casualness happening in the past couple of years. Part of it is a response. We were grateful for whoever would show up and however they would show up. But we're having a little decorum challenges. So what we're asking is that you please show up in black pants and a white shirt. Obviously, sweaters are welcome. Light coats are welcome. Fancy is getting welcome too. I know some of you do like to wear your ties and or even your suits, and we do not begrudge those at all. Our goal is that we want when individuals walk into the building to be able to spot and identify who our ushers are so that they know that there's someone they can turn to for assistance, and also sets a bit of a bar that say, hey, you're welcome to come, and if you show up in blue jeans and a t-shirt, you're not underdressed because we're a little bit casual with our white shirts and black pants. And if you show up in a suit and a nice dress because it's a special event for you, then we also are showing up very professionally looked and you won't look like you're overdressed. So please, going back to the black pants and the white shirts, it just helps everybody identify our ushers and it just gives a sense of unity amongst the team. The second thing is assisted listening devices. You know that we have a set of earmuffs that you can put on your ears, and you can hear the show because there's a special connection that's talking to those earmuffs. One of the things, though, that we have is that when somebody comes in and they say, oh, I need some hearing assist, they give us their ID card, and then we take their ID card and we give them the headphones. There's no charge for the use of the headphones. But in the past, what was happening is at the end of the show, they would come to the concession stand, and at the concession stand, there'd be boxes with these ID cards sitting in them. So the ID cards were therefore unsupervised, and that's not practical or sensible or safe. So we are going to ask one usher each night, if there are hearing assist devices, to stay through the end of the show in order to be able to control those ID cards and hand them to the person they belong to without just leaving them on a counter. So that's going to be a little bit of a post-show activity. In light of the post-show activity, we also are going back to picking up trash. We got a little casual. We were not wanting to touch things. We were not wanting to do things. We do still maintain a cleaning service. So it's not like we have to be pristine in our pickup, but we could go through and pick up the big trash and the big stuff. It just makes everybody show that we care about our facility, and therefore we're going to care about our theater and the care that we do. So please, we are returning back to taking that 5-6 minutes post-show to clean up after the show. We will have gloves and trash bags available as before. Okay. One of the things that's kind of been happening is our ushers have been saying, hey, I got here at 6:15. I've done my job pre-show. I have nothing else I need to do until I'm done. I can leave, turn in my name badge, and I'm gone. Well, we're having a little bit of some trouble in that regard, in the fact that we have people that are doing things inside the theater and they're being ignored by the ushers. And often staff are not in the building or in the theater itself, so they don't know. So we're kind of empowering or deputizing our ushers to help us maintain a safe and appropriate decorum inside the theater. And what I mean by safe is the first thing, if something happens and somebody falls or somebody passes out or whatnot inside the theater, as the usher, you please rush over and help them. If they are unable to speak, the first thing you do is call 911 and then turn to somebody and say, go get some help. But we've got to really be responsive to our patrons. And I mention this because it actually has happened where some ushers have been watching the show and so engrossed in the show that they didn't even notice that somebody had fallen down next to them. Fortunately, that particular night, there was a staff member inside the theater. So I just, as an usher, you're going to be placed in a situation to where you can watch the audience. You're going to be in the back of the theater, behind the audience. We know that there are ushers that cannot walk up the stairs, and that we respect because we want to be able to accommodate the entire community. We do set aside some seats at the orchestra level for those who are unable to manage the stairs. But if you're in the stairs, we're going to ask you to sit behind the audience so that you can see what's going on. We do have seats in the very back of the theater that have been set aside for ushers, but we also know not every seat is sold out, so you can move a little closer if those are empty seats ahead of you. We just want to, but we want you as an usher to be watching the audience as much as you're watching the show. And if you ever find yourself in a situation of dealing with a patron in such a manner that it's distracting you and unable to watch the show, don't worry. Go up to the house manager at the end of the shift and say, you know, I couldn't watch the show tonight. The house manager will give you a ticket so that you can come back and watch the show at your leisure. That likewise connects to cameras. Our audiences have kind of gotten a little bit more casual about, hey, I can videotape the show, even though we say there's no videotaping of the show. But that's my child on the stage. And you're like, no, it doesn't matter. It's still the law. So if you see videotaping taking place, people pulling out their cameras and recording numbers or recording the show, we ask you, again, as a deputized usher, to go up to them and say, please put that away. It's not legal. If they have a situation or you're nervous and you don't want to do that, we understand that. Again, we respect you. We just ask you then please go find the house manager. So the house manager will go up to that person and say, you need to put your camera away. We're going to do that about 3 times in a performance, meaning we'll talk to a guest 3 times. If the house manager deems it needs to be more dramatic than that, the house manager will, but we don't want to disrupt the rest of the play. We don't want to disrupt the performers or all the other audience members. But we still want to respect the law and protect the law to the best of our abilities. So again, you're in a position, you can see those cameras going off. Now, certain situations, the camera is actually being used because they're watching the show and they're using the camera as their playbill. In that regard, then just if it's really bright and kind of distracting to the people behind them, you just go up and ask them, could you dull your light a little bit? Could you make it a bit darker so that people behind you aren't blinded? For those that are watching the game, and we've seen those too, or somebody's sitting there watching the game and checking the scores out while their date is there watching the play, then don't hesitate to offer, hey, if you'd like, you can go sit out in the lobby. And then they can watch the game all they want, and they can watch the television screens and see the show. So they can still participate in the theater experience without being disruptive. So again, these are things that we're asking our guest services volunteers to kind of take control over. Because remember, you're the ones inside the space. All right. We are going back to opening night parties. So this only affects a small handful of you who signed up for opening nights. This is going to be a chance where the cast comes out after the show, immediately after the show, in costume. We will be serving white wine and 7-Up, and we'll also have little baskets or little nosh, little cups of nuts and things like that for the audience to enjoy. It's very simple, but just a chance for the actors and the audience to meet and greet each other. So it's a return to that practice. And then the last thing is, of course, our COVID policies. One of the things as probably should apply everywhere, wherever you go, even if COVID didn't exist. Washing your hands often, a little bit of social distancing if you're uncomfortable or nervous around that patron. But most importantly, masks are welcome. You can wear a mask. The audience member can wear a mask. Anybody who wants to can wear a mask, and we don't need to ask them why. We don't care. All we ask is that would you like to sit? Do enjoy the show. That's all we need to say. Masks are very, very welcome, but not required. So, all right. Just a couple more minutes. In the Kate Goldman Theater, we have 2 usher positions that are not in the John Byers Theater. And those positions are stage guards. That means during the intermission and at the end of the show, we need to position 2 ushers on the stage to help keep the audience off the stage apparatus. We like to create wonderful, fun stages that the audience just wants to crawl all over, even the adults do. And we want to make sure we balance that. So, and protect and keep everybody safe and keep the stage even safe. So we do post a stage guards at intermission and a stage guard at the end of the show. Now, we are doing one little thing differently going forth. In the Kay Goldman Children's Theater, we'll be doing autograph lines in the theater itself. We're not going to try and do those in the lobby. That just makes the lobby so crowded. So we're going to do it inside the theater. We're going to figure out the best way to make that happen, still keeping the stage safe, but giving the actors and the audience a chance to connect. All righty. Couple more things is that we ask everybody to meet at 75 minutes before show. So if it's a 7:30 show, that's 6:15. If it's a 7 o'clock show, that's 5:45. It gives us a chance to get training, review what to do in the event of a tornado or the event of a fire, and talk about what's special about this particular show that is different. Every show's got a little bit of quirks. And we also will assign the 3 positions that take place. So we have 3 positions that are extremely important to us. The first one is the photo stop position. That's the individual that helps our audiences take pictures. We always like to have a photo stop, something to give chance for people to take a picture of themselves and share with their friends and family via the social media. We post one upstairs and or one downstairs, depending on where we've put the photo stop. And that's a person that's there to help. We have discovered that most photos take place at intermission or even post-show. So if you would like to get out of garbage, you could volunteer to be that position and help people as they're leaving the theater. The next one is an usher position, and that's the individuals that pass out programs and playbills. We will post one at the doorway. You can see where I'm standing, right at the main doorway of the John Fyers Theater. We post an usher there, and we put 4 inside the theater. Now, the one that's sitting here at the front door is just to guide people into which door they go, because we've added a new position or combined a position. We used to have greeters at every door. We are now introducing ticket scanning. This was a system that we've tested a little bit in the last spring, and we've discovered the tricks to make it successful. We've built a little stand so that as an audience member, it's easy to get scanned, and as an usher, you don't have to worry about the system and program constantly leaving. But we're going to be checking people at the door. This gives us a chance to avoid the lines at the main theater when entering, and it also gives a chance to kind of alert the staff that some key people are in the building and we'd like to visit with them. And it also finally gives us a chance to keep track of who actually is showing up, because often we get tickets that are purchased that are not being used, and we'd like to know if that's consistent and who it is, and so that we can go forward and offer, again, a little more personalized, customized service for them. So a ticket scanner, when you get here, we'll show you how it works. It really is very simple. Part of our live training included a demonstration where everybody got to scan somebody else, and it was very fun to watch. But being online, it didn't make much sense. So that's the key things. The one last thought, I realized I missed it in parking. If you yourself require handicap parking, you are more than welcome to use the handicap parking spots here at the Playhouse. You do not need to drive someplace else. We know that part of the nature, again, trying to serve the whole community, it matters that we can accommodate everyone's needs. So that wraps it up. That's about 20 minutes worth of training. I was able to condense our 45-minute lesson into 20 minutes. Again, I thank you so very much for being part of the Guest Services Volunteers team. It's extremely important to the Playhouse. Our success is dependent upon you. We invite you to sign up for any show and every show you'd like to. Perhaps some of you are like, I don't want to do children's theater, but I do throw out this. Try it once. Even if you just did it once, you might be surprised at how fun it is watching 100 kids scream and enjoy themselves. Otherwise, we're just grateful for the time you can give us and what shows you can be part of. Your next step will be now to go find that form, which should be on the same webpage, and sign it and says, yes, I've watched the video, yes, I've read the book, and yes, I understand my responsibilities and the benefits of being part of the Guest Services team. Again, on behalf of the Playhouse, I'm David Kilpatrick, Executive Director, and thank you for all that you do.